Let's talk tariffs, a word that's been at the center of heated debates, news headlines, and dinner table conversations across America. There was a moment when a U.S. president told American retailers to just eat the cost of tariffs, as if it were that simple. His message was blunt and direct. When tariffs hit, giant companies like Walmart should absorb the extra cost, not pass it on to everyday shoppers at the checkout line. This was a core part of his trade strategy. Punish China for unfair practices, protect American jobs, and if prices rise, point the finger at so-called greedy corporations instead of the policy itself. The idea behind this: big business, with their massive profits, can afford to take the hit. If they don't, and prices go up, it's their fault, not the government's. But most economists strongly disagree. In reality, tariffs act like a hidden sales tax, and that extra cost almost always trickles down to the customer, whether they realize it or not. The president's narrative was simple, catchy, and politically powerful. But it ignored the reality of razor-thin profit margins in retail and the complexity of global supply chains that make absorbing costs nearly impossible. This set up a dramatic showdown: the White House's populist message versus retailers bracing for a financial storm, trying to figure out how to stay afloat without losing customers or profits. The president promised that consumers would be shielded from any pain, insisting that American families wouldn't feel the pinch. But the reality? The economy rarely plays along with political promises, and prices at the store often tell a different story. Spoiler alert: someone always pays for tariffs, and in the end, it's usually not the corporations, but the people shopping for groceries, clothes, and everyday essentials. Enter Walmart, the face of low prices in America, a place where millions of families count on stretching every dollar just a little further. For decades, Walmart has been the go-to destination for affordable groceries, clothes, and household essentials, promising savings for everyone who walks through its doors. But recently, their leadership didn't mince words. Absorbing new tariffs was impossible without breaking their business model. The message was clear. The days of shielding customers from global economic shocks were over. Walmart's entire model relies on massive sales volume and razor-thin profit margins. Even a small increase in costs can ripple through the system, affecting every shelf and every shopper. A 10 to 25% tax on billions in goods? For a company built on scale, that's not just a challenge, it's a threat to survival. Their warning was blunt. American shoppers would soon see higher prices on everyday essentials: groceries, clothes, electronics, and yes, even those quirky lawn flamingos that brighten up backyards. With so much of Walmart's inventory sourced directly from China, these tariffs struck at the very heart of their supply chain, making it nearly impossible to keep prices low. The company that built its reputation on always low prices was now forced to brace customers for the exact opposite: an era of rising costs. Price hikes would roll out quickly, and millions of Americans, especially those on tight budgets, would feel the impact almost overnight. This wasn't just a policy debate anymore. It was about your weekly groceries, your kids' sneakers, and the cost of living for families everywhere. Walmart's message was unmistakable. The cost of the trade war would show up on every receipt, affecting every household budget. The president's promise to spare consumers from higher prices? It was about to face its toughest test yet, right in the aisles of America's biggest retailer. So, how does a tariff actually work? It's a process that starts long before you ever see a price tag change in your local store, but its effects ripple all the way to your wallet. Imagine Walmart importing $1 million in bikes from China. These bikes arrive by the thousands, filling up warehouses and store shelves across the country. A 25% tariff means an extra $250,000 paid to the U.S. government. By Walmart, not China. This fee is collected at the border, right when the goods enter the country. Walmart can't just eat that loss, so the cost gets passed down. Wholesale prices rise, then retail prices, and finally, you pay more at checkout. Every step in the supply chain adds a little more to the final price. That's why economists call tariffs a tax on domestic consumers. Even though the policy targets foreign goods, the real impact is felt at home. China doesn't pay. The American importer does. The bill comes due for U.S. businesses, who then have to make tough choices about pricing and profit. Sometimes companies try to negotiate with suppliers, hoping to split the cost or find cheaper alternatives, but suppliers aren't obligated to help. Often they simply refuse to lower their prices. The burden falls hardest on lower and middle-income families, who spend more of their income on essentials. For them, even small price increases can make a big difference. A 10% increase in basics isn't just annoying. It's a direct hit to their budget. Suddenly, groceries, school supplies, and household goods all cost more. Less money for rent, gas, or savings. Every extra dollar spent at the store means less for other necessities or future plans. Tariffs are a regressive tax, hurting the most vulnerable the most. Those with the least flexibility in their budgets feel the squeeze first and hardest. No matter the intention, the cost lands on American households. In the end, tariffs may aim to protect industries, but it's everyday people who pay the price. This wasn't just Walmart's problem, it was everyone's. Macy's, Best Buy, Target, Nike, and more all warned tariffs meant higher prices for customers. Fierce competitors, united by math, faced billions in new costs on Chinese imports. They tried to limit increases, but the reality was unavoidable. Consumers would pay more. Decades of globalization built efficient, rigid supply chains. Tariffs threw a wrench into that system. The result? Price hikes weren't about greed. They were economic gravity. Whether you shopped for sneakers, laptops, or power tools, your money didn't go as far. The era of predictably low prices was ending. Tariffs made sure every price tag told the same story. For a while, online shopping seemed like an escape. Sites like Shein and Temu used a loophole, the de minimis rule, to ship cheap goods from China tariff-free. While big retailers paid tariffs on containers, these sites sent millions of small packages under the radar. That's why you could buy a $3 t-shirt online while prices rose everywhere else. But the loophole didn't last. Lawmakers and retailers pushed to close it, and soon Shein and Temu faced the same tariffs. Their costs soared, prices rose, and the endless deals dried up. The last digital bargain bin vanished, proving tariffs are inescapable. Even clever shipping couldn't dodge trade policy forever. As online prices caught up, consumers lost their last refuge for cheap goods. In a trade war, there are no secret exits. Eventually, everyone pays. Tariffs didn't just hit retail, they hit every industry. Automakers like Ford and Volkswagen raised car prices as tariffs drove up the cost of imported parts. Even luxury brands like Ferrari and Hermes hiked prices, citing rising material costs. A single policy decision rippled from garlic to iPhones to pickup trucks. No sector is an island. Global supply chains connect everything. Tariffs shook the entire web, raising prices on basics and luxuries alike. The message was clear. Everyone from families to millionaires would pay more. The financial landscape for every American changed overnight. Strip away the politics, and the truth is clear. American consumers pay the price of tariffs. Companies like Walmart and Procter & Gamble can't absorb billions in new costs, they pass them on. Essentials like food, diapers, and clothing get more expensive, squeezing household budgets. For low-income families, a 5 to 10% increase isn't minor. It's the difference between making ends meet and falling behind. Tariffs force impossible choices. Less savings, fewer outings, or cutting back on necessities. The business community's message is unified. The cost lands at the American cash register. The policy meant to protect citizens ends up hurting them most. Everyday families are left struggling to afford the basics. Beyond price hikes, tariffs unleashed chaos and uncertainty. Businesses need predictability, but the trade war created a market of maybes. Tariffs announced, changed, or canceled on a whim. Long-term planning became impossible. Companies hesitated to invest, hire, or expand. Retailers faced shortages, sudden price changes, and shrinking product choices. Consumers struggled to budget as prices fluctuated. The rules kept changing, paralyzing companies and shoppers alike. Even high tariffs are manageable if stable, but unpredictability is toxic. This uncertainty is a hidden tax, stifling growth and fueling anxiety. The future felt less secure for everyone. As of July 2025, the shadow of the trade war still looms. Higher prices are now part of daily life, but the real cost is lasting anxiety. The clash between political goals and economic reality left businesses and families uneasy. Companies hesitate to invest, fearing sudden policy shifts. For families, rising costs outpace wages, squeezing budgets and opportunities. The trade war became a tax on optimism, making people wonder if this is the new normal. The Trump versus Walmart showdown revealed a hard truth. Economic policies have real consequences at the checkout counter. Until uncertainty fades, Americans will keep feeling the pinch, caught in a trade war with no clear end.